Hi and welcome to the channel. My name's Dean. Today we're going to be looking at the Ford Everest and in particular the instrument cluster. We're going to be looking at how to access the menus, reset the fuel and the trip computer, look at the driver assist settings and look at the vehicle settings. Now if there's anything else you'd like to cover in these videos, please let me know in the comments below. Like, share and subscribe to the video and I'll see you in the car. Okay guys, so we're in the car and today we're in a Ford Everest. If you have a Ranger, the functions and the menus are very similar, although you may or may not have some of the things that we look at today. Now the very first thing I suggest you do is start the car, and this is going to reduce the possibility of any flat batteries later on down the track whilst you're playing with the settings. So without further ado, let's dive in and get started. Okay guys, here we are in the car, and at the moment you can see on the right hand side of my dashboard here we've got the digital speedo illuminated, and we're going to be focusing on this side of the instrument cluster today, along with the right hand side steering wheel switches which we use to control the menu options in that display. So at the moment we're in the digital speedo. Now you can change the way that display looks simply by using the buttons here on the right hand side. If we push the down arrow here, you'll see that we start to scroll through the distance to empty, the tachometer with the fuel gauge and engine coolant temperature, the off-road gauges, the power distribution display, and then we come back to the digital speedo. So if for some reason you find yourself in a screen that you don't realise or you don't recognise, what we can do is simply push the down arrow here and scroll through until we get back to what we would like to see. Simple as that. Okay guys, so we've had a look at how to toggle through the display. That was nice and easy. The next thing we're going to do is have a look at the menu options. And the way that we enter the menu is by, again, using the right hand switch here on the steering wheel. So if we push the left hand arrow here, you'll see it brings up the display. And we can use the down arrow here to cycle through our main menu. If we keep going, it just comes back to the display mode. We're going to select trip computer, and because there's a little white arrow there on the right hand side of the trip computer display, we know that there's further options. So if we push the right arrow here, that gets us into our trip computer, and we can use the down arrow to come trip computer 1, trip computer 2. Now as you can see, a little message at the bottom there. If you hold the OK button in and push, it will reset that trip computer to 0. You can come back to number 1, and you can also reset number 1. So that's how we reset the trip computer on the Ford Everest. Now to get back into the main menu, we simply push the left arrow here, and that takes us back to our main menu. So the next thing we're going to look at is our fuel economy. So once again, use the down arrow to select fuel economy, and the little right arrow here to enter the menu for the fuel economy. The screen there shows our fuel history. Nothing on there at the moment because I've zeroed it, and the way that we zero this is to hold the OK button, and that will reset the fuel history. There is another option in here, and that is our average fuel consumption. And as you can see there, it's a little graphical display of our fuel consumption. Once again, you can hold the OK button, and that will reset that option for you. Once again, to jump out of that and back into the main menu, we just push the left arrow, and here we are back in the main menu. And the next item we're going to look at is our driver assist. So we're going to pop down into driver assist. Once again, there's a little right hand pointing arrow, which means that we can expand that section, and that takes us into our driver assist options. So currently that has got the traffic signs highlighted. I'm just going to use the up arrow here to bring me to the top, and it's in alphabetical order here, so AdBlue is the first thing on the list, and if we push the right arrow here, it tells us our AdBlue range, and if we push the left arrow, it brings us back into that menu. We've got our AdBlue refill. We have our trailer sway control, and this can be turned on and off just by simply pushing the OK button. We're going to leave ours switched on. We can turn the chimes or the information chimes on and off. Again, little right hand arrow there in the display means that there's more information, so we can turn the chimes on and off in the display. I'm going to leave mine switched on. Again, the left hand arrow here, guys, takes us into the original menu, and then we can come down and have a look at our cruise control. And this vehicle is fitted with adaptive cruise control, so if we push the right arrow here, it takes us into our cruise control options. Now we can choose to turn this back to normal mode. If I push the OK button, I get a message saying that my adaptive braking is now off, and this is just conventional cruise control. To switch it back on, we go back into the menu, we select adaptive cruise control using the arrows, and we push the OK button to highlight the adaptive cruise. So if ever you get to a stage where your adaptive cruise is not working, it may simply be that you've inadvertently switched that off in the menu. So now you can go in and switch it back on and get back to the adaptive cruise function. Let's hop back out of there into the menu, and we can continue on down into our driver alert settings, which I'm going to explain in a little bit more detail because it does cause a little bit of confusion with drivers. Okay guys, so how does that driver alert function actually work? Well, it uses the camera that's mounted in the windscreen of the vehicle, and that camera is monitoring the white lines on the road. Now if it sees that you're swerving in and out of the white lines, or you're not keeping a steady straight line within the lines, then what's going to happen, it's going to think that you're tired, and it's slowly going to start to recommend that you take a break. Right, here we are in the driver alert. Now this is an interesting piece of technology, and this is monitoring your driver behaviour whilst you're driving along the road. So up here on the windscreen we have a camera that's mounted forward facing on the windscreen, and that camera is monitoring the road ahead. It's looking at the white lines on the side of the road, and if it sees that you're deviating in your lane, it will eventually bring on an alert telling you that you are tired, and then if you ignore that alert, it will then tell you to take a break. Now once that is telling you to take a break, the only way to clear that message is to actually physically pull over, turn the vehicle off and take a break, and that will then reset the alert back to a normal setting. Now there's no adjustment on the driver alert. The only thing you can do is turn it on and off, and the way that we do that is by using the button on the steering wheel here. Push the right hand arrow, and if we select driver alert, we can turn that on and off with the OK button. I'll leave mine switched on. The other option we have is to actually get a graphical display of where that driver alert thinks that we are along on our journey. At the moment it's greyed out, but when you're driving along, if it's in the green, you're steering a pretty straight path. If it's in the yellow or the orange, then you're starting to weave a little bit, and once it hits the red, then you'll need to take a break, which is indicated there by the coffee cup. So to get back into the main menu there, we press the left button, and we can select driver alert to turn on and off. That's the only adjustment that you have. The only reason you would need to turn that off is if you're on a windy road and you're constantly making deviations along that road, which may indicate to the camera that you're weaving a little bit. So that's the only real reason that I would turn that function off. Let's get out of that and back into our main menu. And the next thing we'll look at is our lane keeping aid. Okay guys, so let's use the steering wheel switch here to navigate down to our lane keeping. And the most common question I get regarding lane keeping is, why is it not working? Now, believe it or not, it is very, very easy to turn this lane keeping system on or off. So down here on the indicator stalk, on the right hand side of your steering wheel, there is a button on the end of the stalk, which is the button to turn the lane keeping on and off. At the moment, you can see in my display, there is a little vehicle, and then each side of that vehicle you've got a series of broken lines, which indicates that the lane keeping is currently switched on. If we push the button on the end of the indicator stalk, it will turn the lane keeping system off. So if for some reason it's not working, quickly look in the display. If you've got no lines, the chances are that you just need to turn it on the indicator stalk here. Now, there are a few settings for the lane keeping. So once again, we use the right arrow here, and we can change the intensity of the lane keeping assist. I've got mine set to high, but you can change it to normal or low. I like mine set to high because it is quite subtle, and I just think the high setting is the best option for me. Push the left arrow to get us back into the menu, and we can also select the mode, and you can choose whether to have it on alert and aid, just the aid, or just the alert. Mine's on alert and aid, and that's where I like to keep mine. We're going to go back to the menu here, and if you need more information on that lane keeping, just refer to the owner's manual. It gives you quite a comprehensive rundown of how that system actually does function. Once again, it's using the camera mounted in the windscreen to monitor the lines on the side of the road. Okay, we've covered a fair bit so far, guys, so don't forget to rewind if you need to go back and recap. Well, now what we're going to do is move on and have a look at the pre-collision assist and how that works for you. Okay guys, so the next option down here is our pre-collision assist, which is a piece of technology that helps us avoid an accident should the car in front stop suddenly, and this will bring on the active braking and the car will slow down quite rapidly and help prevent that collision. So to enter the options here, once again use the right arrow, and you can see we can turn this on or off just by pushing the right arrow and simply selecting on or off in the display. Remember, the little blue icon means that that option is turned on, and I'm going to leave mine switched on. We can also change its sensitivity, and we can have it on high, normal or low. Once again, I like the technology to work for me, so I leave mine set to high. We can also come down and turn on or off the active braking. Now, I strongly suggest that you leave this switched on. And also we have a distance indicator. So if you look at the instrument cluster display, the little car graphic in the middle there, at the front there's a little icon in the shape of a cone, and that is indicating our distance to the car in front. If you wish to turn that off, you can just simply push the OK button and that disappears. When it is on, if you're close to the car in front, you'll see a little red marker. If you're in a safe-ish zone, it will be orange, and if you're in a good zone, it will be green. So obviously we like to keep that in the green, and that will indicate how far you are from the car in front. So let's hop out of there and back into our main menu. And the next option down is our traffic signs. Now, down at the bottom of the instrument display there, next to the odometer, you'll see a little greyed out circle. Usually when you're driving along, that will indicate the current speed zone that you're in. Again, the forward-facing camera is watching the speed signs fly by, so you may see that that says 100 kilometers an hour, and you can choose to have that icon flash on and off should you exceed that speed limit. So if we go into the menu for traffic signs, you can turn that speed warning on or off. So if it's off, then all you'll have in that little display will be the actual speed sign itself. If you turn it on, once you exceed the speed limit, that will flash on and off to warn you that you're going too quickly. Down here we can change the tolerance, and if we go into the menu here, you can see that we can change the tolerance. I've currently got mine set to 2 kilometers as the tolerance. You can go a little bit further, up to 10 kilometers an hour over the set or recognised speed limit for that particular road. I like to keep mine set to 2. Now we can get back into our main menu, go left arrow and left arrow, takes us back into our main menu. If we push the down arrow, we can see if we have any more options in the display. And as you can see, it's taken us straight back to our add blue, which was the first thing on our list. So we need to get out of this menu now, and the way to do that is get the left arrow here and just give it one push, and we're back into the main option menu for the instrument cluster. So we've looked at most of the options now in our instrument cluster, and the final thing to look at is our settings. So once again, if we use the down arrow here, we can select settings, and once again there is a little right facing arrow, so all we do is push that and gets us into our sub menu for the settings option. The first thing we'll see here, guys, is the vehicle, and again a little right arrow indicates that there's more information available, and we have the option here to look at our alarm system, and we can either ask it if it wants us to set the alarm in full guard mode on exit, or we can choose to turn that message off. I'll explain more about that in just a couple of minutes. For now, I'm going to leave mine on just as a safety measure. We can adjust some settings up here, and once again, little right arrow, it actually asks us if we want to leave it in full guard or reduced guard mode. I'm going to leave mine in full guard mode. Again, I'll explain that to you in just a tick. Let's get back into that menu. We can select our engine auto off, and this means if your car is idling for a set amount of time, you can choose for it to switch off automatically. I'm going to leave mine on. We can change the way the lighting behaves, so we can change the headlamp delay, so once you get home and you hop out of the car, if the headlights are set to auto, we can change the amount of delay that we have before those lights go off. Maybe you want those lights just to light the way to the front door or the garage door. Again, I find 20 seconds is usually long enough for me. If you don't like this, you can actually switch it off by simply highlighting the off section. I'm going to leave mine at 20 seconds. We can also choose to leave the high beam on auto, or we can choose to turn the auto high beam off. If you're on a dark road and you find that the high beam is constantly getting switched off because of the reflection from the road signs, then you can choose this option to switch that auto beam off, and you'll have to manually, I should say, put the high beam on and off in a conventional way. I leave mine on auto high beam. Let's go back to the main menu, and we can have a look at the locks and see what we can do with our locks. So we can have an auto unlock, we can have a mislock, and we can inhibit the switches on the vehicle. I would recommend that you refer to your owner's manual on how these functions work and try them out before you actually change these settings, so that you don't have any unexpected locking or unlocking situations. Let's get back to that main menu. We can also come down and have a look at our power tailgate here, and we can enable the switch on the dash, or we can disable the switch. Once again, I'll leave mine enabled, and back to our menu, and we can see if there's anything else in this menu by pushing the down arrow, and we have a remote start function. And we can choose on the remote start whether we have the climate control on automatic, or start the climate control with the last settings that we had. I'll leave mine on auto, and we're going to go back to the menu here. Now this function will only work if you're using the Ford Pass app, which again not all vehicles will have, so if your car doesn't have this, then it doesn't have it. You can come down again with the down arrow and choose various options here in the remote start function. Let's get out of there and back to our screen. We'll have a look at the seat belts. This is our seat belt display. I've currently got the driver's seat belt plugged in, so there's a little green tick there to tell me that it's plugged in. Okay, the next option down is our windows. Now we can choose with the windows to have global opening or global closing switched on. Now this is a great little function that you can use to either close the windows remotely or open the windows remotely on the vehicle. I leave mine switched on. I do use this quite often, and if you're interested to see how that works, then drop me a comment below and we'll go through that in a separate video. We can also choose how our wipers behave, and by selecting the menu here we can have the reverse wiper activated, so when we're in reverse we can have the rear wiper turn on automatically as we're in reverse. We can have the rain sensing wipers switched on, and we can also tell it whether or not we want a courtesy wipe. So this is if you wash your windscreen with the washers. Sometimes you get that dribble of water in the annoying spot on the windscreen. The courtesy wipe leaves a few seconds and then gets rid of that dribble for you. And that brings us back to the top of our menu here, back to the alarm system. So let's exit that and get back to our vehicle settings. And we're going to come down and have a look at My Key. Now I suggest that you only use My Key if you want to restrict some of the features on your car. Maybe you're loaning the car to a friend, or maybe you're loaning the car to a young person and you want to change some of the settings on the car so that they can't get themselves into trouble. Please review the owner's manual on this one, because you do need to have the admin key present to clear any My Key settings. So if you happen to set the My Key up and it's not to your liking and you haven't got the admin key free or with you, then you're not going to be able to set it back to the normal settings. We can also come down and have a look at the display setup, and this will just give you a couple of options here. We can use our measurement system. We can have it in litres per 100, kilometres per litre, or miles per gallon. I like mine in litres per 100. We can change the temperature units here, Celsius and Fahrenheit. We can choose how the gauges look, and we can change the language that we need for our instrument cluster. Let's exit all this now back to our main menu. So let's get out with the left button and the left button and the left button, and if we scroll up here to display and push OK, we're back to the very start. As simple as that. Okay guys, so that was how we navigate through our instrument cluster display on the Ford Everest. The Ranger is very similar, and some of the models do have all of those functions, others don't, but the way that you navigate through those menus is pretty much the same on all of the vehicles. Now I did mention the alarm system on the vehicle, and you get a choice when you exit the vehicle to either leave the car in full guard mode or reduced guard mode. So you've probably noticed in your vehicle, just above your head in the center console, there is some little sensors, and those sensors are the interior motion sensors for the vehicle. So when the vehicle is locked and the alarm is set, those sensors are monitoring the inside of the vehicle for any pressure changes or movement within the vehicle. So if for some reason you've left the window open, or you've left a pet in the car or something in the car that's going to be moving around, then there's a good chance that is going to trigger the alarm whilst you're not near the vehicle. Now if you want to leave the windows down a little bit, or maybe you've got something hanging off your mirror that is floating around in the wind, then you can choose to turn off the interior motion sensors. So when you switch the vehicle off, you're going to get an option, and with that option you can choose reduced guard mode. So here we go, I'm going to switch the vehicle off. Now you can change that option by using the down arrow here on the display, and if you choose full guard mode, it stays in that mode, the interior motion sensors are active. If we push the down arrow and choose reduce guard, it means that those interior motion sensors will not function. So if you are going to leave something in the car, choose reduce guard mode, and then the next time you get in the car and exit the vehicle again, it will ask you the same question, and this way you're not going to have any issues with having it in reduced guard mode when you thought it was in full guard mode. Well guys, that's how we navigate through the instrument panel on the current model Ford Everest and Ford Ranger. Now depending on your model, you may or may not have all of those functions available to you, but the way we navigate through the menu is pretty much the same across the range. Now if you have liked the video today, please like, share and subscribe. If there's anything else that you'd like me to cover in future videos, please drop me a line in the comments and we'll see you next time.